Bonjour et bienvenue au cours marketing numérique. Désirez-vous avoir les règlements en français ou en anglais?
En anglais, s'il vous plaît.
Each team has 20 minutes to present the case in front of the jury. Presentation will be timed with a chronometer. Time will be indicated at the following segments to remind the participant of the remaining time to complete the presentation. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. In the last 10 seconds, remaining seconds will be announced with both ends like this. In presentation, if presentation isn't completed after 20 minutes, presentation will be automatically stopped with a verbal announcement in order to move to the question period. A period of 5 minutes is allocated to the jury to ask questions concerning the presentation. After 5 minutes, a verbal announcement will stop the question period, even if the question or the answer isn't completed. It is mandatory that at least one question is asked by the jury to complete the question period. Note that if a participant reveals the name or the source of the university, will receive penalty. In order to start the presentation, please turn off any electric device that could be a nuisance during the presentation. I will now let the jury present themselves.
Good afternoon, my name is Olivier Desilets and I'm working at the Sherbrooke University Foundation.
Hi, I'm Judith. I'm working to the University of Foundation too.
Abdel Meki Brada, marketing professor at the University of Sherbrooke.
Marilyn Houty. I'm working at Sherbrooke University Foundation as well.
Hello, Marc Laurent Talent, Director of Digital Media for Revenue.
Do you remember that first day of university when you walked into class and you felt like the smallest kid? You didn't really know what was going on, you didn't really know where your classes were, but all you remember is that you were there. This was the start of your next 3, 4, 5 years. It's a process, and La Fondation was a part of the process throughout it all. That's why we want to make sure that the consumer is a part of the process through the entire journey. That no matter what, they can go back and remember those days. No matter where they're at now, they can remember what happened throughout those 3, 4, 5 years. My name is Jeremy.
My name is
Anton.
And together we are LGD Consulting. And today, let's get digital. Why are we here today? Our mandate here today was to develop online strategies that enable Sherbrooke University to acquire, retain, and create a sustainable link with young graduate donors. And we looked at 2 specific goals today. Number 1, we want to increase the number of donors from young clients aged 25 to 35 years old. And secondly, increase the foundation's visibility by really leveraging the different social media platforms at hand and really making sure they are optimized. So we took into account 3 key considerations. Number 1, the lack of awareness of the foundation presence. There are some indirect impacts that simply the consumer is not aware of, and we want to make sure that that comes to life. Number 2, the user experience. How do they integrate themselves within La Fondation? And number 3, the transparency of the donation impact. We really want to make sure that when someone makes a donation, they understand where that money is going, and they understand exactly what they're giving back to. And to tackle this mandate, our winning strategy is really a promotional strategy to acquire and retain young graduate students in 3 different prongs. The first prong, building awareness, really making sure that young graduates are aware of La Fondation and are aware of its goals and mission. Number 2, building a relationship with the client, really making sure that they're together with La Fondation and they understand why it's such a great thing to be a part of. And finally, retaining and providing information, making sure that that screen is there, making sure that they understand exactly where that money is going. Now, I know you're super excited to dive into this, but first, let's look at how we got here today. My colleague Anton will cover this.
Thanks, Jeremy. So, the first thing we need to understand is that, as Jeremy mentioned, university is a starting point, but the foundation is not. Although it helps students throughout the process of their studies, it continues throughout their professional years where they've been able to acquire services and help with the foundation to be able to build their character, build their skills, build their knowledge in school, but in their field. So the first thing that the foundation does is provide the students with scholarships, be it academic or athletic. Second, cooperative education. And this is especially important for not only the students in the school, but also for the employers to understand that Université Sherbrooke is a competitive school and that the foundation is able to highlight that. And third, school services, be it stock simulation labs or other labs that students are able to use, and especially the students that are sometimes in dire need of food aid vouchers and other things of that nature. So what this means is that the foundation must emphasize all of its impacts on Université Sherbrooke in the next campaign. Now, looking at what drives the success of a campaign, it's a story. Since we were kids, we loved bedtime stories. And today, when we watch our favorite movies and films, it's all about the story. So looking at what a successful campaign for Université Sherbrooke looked like, well, it was a love story about Sabrina and Simon, which generated 16.5 thousand views and 5,000 engagements. And this is compared to an average past post that only generated 2,000 views and 300 engagements. However, this also needs to be taken into consideration as the amount that is generated can actually saturate the impact. So right now there are 2 posts a day on Facebook, and then this can be very heavy for the user. Users love anticipation. They don't find out that a movie is coming out the next day. They find out a few months before, and the anticipation is what drives them to keep giving and keep themselves motivated to understand the service. So this meant that while the following posts in the next 2 days have been impactful, they have not been as impactful. And they only generate an average of 3,000 views and 1,000 engagements, down from the 16,000 views and 5,000 engagements. Meaning that the foundation must create a sense of anticipation when promoting these posts, but most importantly, promoting these stories about the foundation and helping students. Now looking at the fact that future donors care about the impacts of their donations more than anything else. If we look at the different pages on the website and their bounce rates, meaning the rate at which a person goes from one web page to another, and the exit rates, meaning the rate at which a person exits the website completely, we can see that the foundation and join pages on the website have the highest bounce and exit rates. However, when it comes to the impact rate, people like to stay on those more often. And they like to stay on those pages because they actually showcase what the foundation has done to them as a previous student, but also what it can do to future students and like-minded individuals as they were when they first went to school. So the foundation must showcase the different impacts on Université Sherbrooke from the donations. Now, there are 3 types of students impacted by the foundation. As mentioned, those ones that are receiving the scholarships. So they're directly impacted. They're the scholarship recipients like Yusuf, who received a student athlete scholarship and right now is looking for to become a permanent teacher. And he knows exactly what the foundation does and how it helped him. Next, the indirectly impacted students. Those that have benefited from the school services, such as Rosalie, who's received food aid vouchers from the foundation and somewhat knows about it. And finally, those who aren't really impacted. Those who go to class don't really need to use the services because such people like Alex who work at a convenience store and don't really need help going through school and they don't really know about the foundation, and that's okay. And here we can see that the ones that have the highest potential are the ones that are indirectly impacted. As Yusuf, who knows about the foundation, it's really hard to get him to increase his average revenue of donations. However, when it comes to people that know somewhat of the foundation but aren't current donors, it's much better to be able to direct your focus on them and be able to gain the revenue from them. Meaning that the foundation must target indirectly impacted students like Rosalie. Now let's take a look at Rosalie.
So, who is Rosalie and what do we know about her? We know that Rosalie is a graduate. She graduated from UDS in pharmacology and she really was a part of the school. But she was indirectly impacted. So she's kind of familiar with the foundation, but doesn't fully understand the impacts entirely. She worked at the call center and received food aid vouchers. So we can see that there is clear evidence that she understands that maybe she got some help from the foundation, and that needs to be leveraged in our strategy. What are her media habits? What does she like to do online, and how can we reach Rosalie? She goes on Facebook to talk to fellow alumni that she stayed close with. Really, she's developed those connections, and she doesn't want to forget them. She shares her professional experiences on LinkedIn. Whenever she gets a new job, whenever her company does something unique, she likes to share it, and she really likes to basically get out there and make sure people understand what's going on in her professional life. And last of all least, on Instagram, she posts her travel pictures that now she can afford because she had those food aid vouchers at the university. So we have said a lot of things here today, but what are the three key things to remember? First of all, in terms of the Lack of Awareness Foundation, the foundation really needs to emphasize all of its impacts on UDS, the direct impacts and indirect impacts. Next, the user experience, really making sure that the potential donor is at the heart of every strategy. And it was showed that the foundation must create a sense of anticipation when promoting stories. They like that sense of waiting. They really feel like that's an incentive to continue engaging with the brand. And last but not least, transparency in donation impact. Really showcasing the different opportunities, showcasing the impacts that UDS has on student life and basically how they can use that in their campaign. And that's why I'm proud to present to you today the glory days. We were all there, our first day of university. And what happened between the first day of university and the last day of university, some of us can't even remember. But it's really about making sure that we remember the good times. We remember the glory days. It's a promotional strategy to acquire and retain those young graduate donors. And we looked at 3 different approaches. Just like your career through university, you get admitted, you enjoy it, and then you graduate. In admission phase, really building that awareness, making sure that they are aware of UDS and all that it stands for. Number 2, building a relationship, making sure that that potential donor is at the center of each strategy. And last but not least, graduation, retaining, providing them info, and making sure that they come back for a second donation, for a third donation. So how are we going to do that today?
Now for the marketing strategy. Before we get into the details of our implementation plan, we want to give you a quick overview of some of the tactics that we're going to be sharing with you tonight. So as we mentioned before, we have our 3 phases: admission, enjoyment, graduation. The very first phase will take 3 months, the second one is between 3 to 8 months, and the last one is 8 to 12 months. And some of the elements that we're going to be using are Facebook, LinkedIn. We're also going to have video series on Instagram to really build a relationship with the donors and the students. We're also going to be having social media cutout boards, and we're also going to be having a strong focus on email marketing to really allow you to encompass and use different tactics online to connect your donors and the students together to really build that relationship together. So for the first phase, the very first thing we want to do is launch email marketing. Essentially, it's currently being used, however, we believe it can be used even further. It was mentioned that there are students, there are alumni that don't actually know that they actually benefited from the foundation in itself. So this is the first thing we want to tackle. We want to be able to communicate to these specific individuals that they actually benefited from the program, even if they weren't fully aware. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to have tailored emails based on the faculty's depending on whatever they had studied throughout the program. So for example, if a student was in co-op, they would receive an email indicating how throughout their university experience, they benefited from the foundation and how the foundation actually impacted their experience, not only in university, but also afterwards, after they had graduated, and how it really impacted where they are today. The reason we're going to do this, as we mentioned, is to target potential donors. So these are people who weren't aware that they were directly impacted while they were in school. How are we going to do this? So how are we going to get to these specific people? One of the benefits of targeting alumni is the fact that you already have their information. These are students that were already in your school. You have their email addresses in a database, so you can easily access this, create an email marketing campaign to really communicate your strategy and essentially get them aware that they not only benefited, but they can also benefit future students and help other students get to where they are today. And the KPIs that we're going to be looking at is the number of emails open per faculty. We really want to differentiate because we want to see what's working, what isn't, since we are tailoring the messages individually depending on the faculties. And this will really allow you to see what's working, what isn't, and it'll allow you to also tailor your messages for future reference. So another aspect for phase 1 is that we want to help you develop a Facebook page. It was mentioned that currently the foundation doesn't have its own Facebook page. It was communicating some of their announcements through another program. However, we feel that it's important for you to have your very own Facebook page. It's an opportunity for you to not only promote the actual foundation, to share stories, but also to create an opportunity for conversation with the students and the donors. It's also an opportunity for you to use Facebook custom ads, because it'll allow you to target people that are living in the specific city. It'll allow you to target people who are currently studying at the school, who graduated from the school, also their ages. We also want to promote on LinkedIn. There was also an opportunity, it was mentioned how there is an opportunity for La Fondation to really promote content on LinkedIn. This is a great channel to target alumni because these are people who have graduated, they're in the work field, and most likely they are on LinkedIn. So it's a great chance for you to really communicate the fact that you are there, you help them, now it's their opportunity to help other students. Also, we want to mention that on Facebook, a great aspect is the fact that you can also use the emails from your database to upload it onto Facebook, create targeted campaigns to really announce the fact that you are here, you're there to help other students, and it also provides an opportunity for you to retarget people. So if someone clicks an advertisement, it'll lead them to the website for the foundation, where they can learn a little bit more about it, they can actually donate, and then if they decide not to donate right away, they can be retargeted a couple of weeks later to really help you stay top of mind. And some of the KPIs that we're going to be looking at is engagement and the conversion rate. So picture this. You're scrolling through Facebook, you're a graduate from UDS, and you scroll and you suddenly see this image. You see a picture of a young man who's currently studying in school. He's at school, he's happy, he's smiling, and then the image right beside it is going to be a picture of the same student, except years later. And now he's in the workforce. And this really is an advertisement to really directly communicate to the donors, because it's something that's relatable for the student who graduated, because they can put themselves in the feet of Pierre Maxim. They went to school, they did it all, then they had the opportunity to actually go out into the workforce and find a job under La Fondation. So it really helps communicate the fact that they were able to get help, and now it's their chance to really give back to the community and essentially build that relationship with you. So for phase 2, the first thing we want to do is really focus on an Instagram campaign to build a relationship with your current and potential donors. So the way we want to do this is to essentially create a video series, and this is going to be launched every month, and there's going to be 5 different videos, and the videos are going to be high quality content, eye-catching videos. They're going to be 15 to 30 seconds, and they're essentially going to showcase different stories of students who are currently in school to really showcase how they've benefited from La Fondation. We're also going to be highlighting the actual donors. So these donors are going to be people who recently graduated, but also people who have graduated for a little while. They've been around they've been actually been donating. It's really a great opportunity for the Instagram page to really build a connection between the students and the donors, because they can actually see physically how they're benefiting the students, how it's actually impacting their lives. It also provides an opportunity for students to realize that they are benefiting from these donors as well. So when they actually graduate, they'll be more inclined to be a part of this program and to give back to other students. Some of the KPIs we're going to be looking at are views and engagement as well. So another aspect on Instagram we're going to be doing is the fact that you currently have an annual event where you have your alumni attend a gala. So what we want to do is provide an opportunity for you to really connect your offline and your online strategy. So the way we're going to do this is at the actual event, we want to have Instagram cutout boards, and it's going to be a really good chance to really get people to take pictures. Because the reality is, if we look at the target of who we're actually going after, these are people who are 25 to 35. They're a bit younger, and the one thing that they definitely use is social media. They all have their cell phones in their hands. So if they go to these events and they see these large Instagram cutouts, they're most likely going to take pictures, post them online to really help you promote the brand. You're utilizing the donors to essentially advertise for you. And we're also going to be showcasing this hashtag, VisageUDS, and it'll allow you to track to see how often it's being used and whether or not changes need to be made. So for phase 3 graduation, one of the most important aspects of our strategy is that we want to communicate to the alumni how their donations are actually making an impact on students. It was said that essentially if people are able to see how their impact is being made, they'll be more inclined to return and come back and donate for the future. So the way we want to do this is essentially provide an email marketing campaign that at the end of the year, people will actually be able to see how their money provided an opportunity to help a student in real data and in real numbers. So they can actually see the impact they've made on the lives of these students. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to be leveraging the emails that were submitted through the donation page. We're also going to be sending personalized emails, and the reason why is because if we have personalized emails, people will feel a stronger connection to it. They'll be able to understand that they made an impact, they're there, they're helping people, and they're also making an impact in these students' futures as well. For KPIs, we're also going to be looking at the open rate and the link conversion rate. So here we have a visual example of what an email would look like. So we have the Fondation email, the Rosalie, and the subject is your 2018 Sure Beat Impact. And essentially, when she opens up her email, she'll actually see how her contribution has impacted the students of UDS in 2018. It's going to showcase 3 different students, and she can easily click it, it'll drive her to the website where she can learn more information on how her dollar actually impacted these students' lives and the impact that she's making. It'll allow a stronger connection for her and the brand to really allow her to focus and understand that she is truly making a difference. She's not just simply donating on a website and not seeing how it's making a difference for these students. And essentially, this provides a great opportunity for these people to really do it again for the following years, to really allow you to retain these donors.
So let's look at the impact of this strategy. We broke down our budget to really cover that $100,000. However, we wanted to leave a small contingency fund of approximately $5,000 just in case there were something to come up, just in case we realized that there was an opportunity further to leverage our social media campaigns. That gives us the total budget of $100,000, but we really want to look at the return. What are you getting out of this? In the first year, the total return will be $172,500, and really this is just the start of it. This is just the start because using our email marketing campaigns will really emphasize bringing these people back, making sure that they make recurring revenues, recurring donations. Overall, our return on investment on the strategy is 75% with a customer acquisition cost of just over $40 and an average donation per user of $50. So today, we talked about it. We went to university. We remember that first day. You walk in. You don't really know what's going on. But after your 3 or 4 years, you remember everything. And that's why we presented to you a strategy today that you should remember. Thank you, and we open the floor to questions.
I'll go first. So thanks, I think it was a very interesting presentation. I think the idea of using custom audiences on Facebook with email matching capabilities is very smart, but I just want to expose you to like a challenge and see, to pick your brain on how to work around that. The reality is that the foundation have mostly university emails, not necessarily the personal emails. And usually your Facebook accounts are linked to your personal profile and your personal email address. So how do you think we could work around that in order to make sure that we can get maximum reach against the current existing former customers, students and alumni, knowing that constraint?
Absolutely. So first of all, by understanding that the people on Facebook have seen the ads already, so they'll be the potential people that you'll be sending out the emails to. The way you're going to get their personal emails is by seeing that, first of all, the people that you're targeting are the ones that usually promote that they went to Université de Sherbrooke, so you know which people you'll need to target on Facebook. And from there, it's the emails that they've promoted through the school, the personal emails, whether it be co-op or other extracurricular activities that you'll be able to get through the Université de Sherbrooke database in another way.
What do you think about the actual website of the foundation and the process online of donation?
So the focus for us is really, basically, there is a rule out there where if you have less than 3 clicks to get to any transaction, that means that your website is optimized. At the moment, there is a following website configuration where it takes 4 clicks to get to your final point. And it has been proven by a study in Deloitte in 2018 that if you have less than 3 clicks, your average customer acquisition cost will be 15% reduced. So basically what we want to emphasize on is keeping that 3-click rule on every single page of your website.
Do you think you can, so speaking of the website, most of the strategy, the execution was around what happened outside of the website. So you mentioned the 3-step process in order to give a donation, but knowing the first-party data that we currently have on the website, is there anything you believe you can also do in order to increase conversion or frequency of conversion towards the existing audience of people visiting that website?
Well, overall, our entire strategy is essentially targeted to these consumers who would be inclined to donate. However, the biggest part that would really retain and really encourage people to donate even more is the fact that we're providing a year-in-review email. Because if people are able to actually see how their dollar is making a difference, there's a sense of transparency. So people are actually able to see how their money is impacting directly a student. They're more likely to donate even more because they're actually being able to see a visual example and really understand that they're benefiting both the student and themselves. So we believe that that's a great way to really encourage people to donate even more.
And so you spent 70% of the budget more or less in video production. I'm just curious, why did you determine that such a significant enough portion of the budget was to be allocated to that when it can kind of jeopardize the potential reach you would get through paid media?
The reason that we emphasized approximately 67.5% of our budget on the video production is because we know that as young consumers, that's what they want to see. They don't want to see footage that doesn't relate to them. They really want to see that they can relate to what's going out there. In addition, every single one of our videos produced can be used on different platforms, whether it be 15, 30-second platforms, whether it be platforms that have a longer reach. So basically we want to make sure that no matter what our video production is, it can be used in different strategies and it can be used across the board. So that's why that cost is so elevated.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.